path of the midah of chesed mitzad the nefesh elokis. Right? What does it mean? Chesed shebechesed, gvura shebechesed, and tiferet shebechesed. That's what we saw yesterday. Chesed shebechesed. The midah of chesed is ahava. This is mitzad the nefesh elokis. We also saw the machlekes, the Rambam, and Tosfos, and Rabbeinu Yerucham, and then we had that amazing explanation on Rabbeinu Yerucham, why it is that he holds that today counting weeks is D'Rabbanan and days is D'Oraisa, because days is a level of avodah that we can do, because it's shaykh to conscious thought, speech, and action. Whereas in the time of the temple, they could also affect their subconscious midah. Okay. Then the beer of the hiskalus of chesed shebechesed, gvura shebechesed. Chesed shebechesed, chesed is loving the Eibishter. By virtue of a person's love for the Eibishter, they will love someone who's sitting and learning Torah. They will love someone who is showing love to the one they love. Right? Gevura is hating the opponents of godliness. Of course, you have to understand what hate means, right? Doesn't mean he goes and throws rocks in their windows. But he fights them tooth and nail, right? And wants to do away with such an existence, right? That there shouldn't be people who fight a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So that generally means educating them, right? David HaMelech said relative to evil, but tachlis asina sinasim. But the ultimate in hatred, I hated them being the forces of evil in the world. Because if I don't hate them, I'm not going to fight them. Tiferet shebechesed was experiencing the beauty of Torah. It's how beautiful it is that Torah and mitzvahs can affect the person so positively. Okay, so that took us down to the bottom of page 55. Now, those are the three main midos. Then there are what's called the anfehem, the branches of those midos. Netzach, Hoid, Yesoid, the next three. And then Malchus. So what's Netzach and Hoid? So we're going to see those are similar, the Rebbe is going to say. Now, what the word Netzach has two meanings. What's the meaning of the word Netzach? What does it mean? Perseverance, you're fair. But that's already a parish of its simple meaning. You're right, that's what it means. But with the word Netzach, where does it come from? Hi, Rabbi. Nitzachon. What's a nitzachon? Victory. Victory. And what's netzach? Also eternal. Right? Those are the two meanings of the word. So now you're right. The midah is perseverance, which produces victory that's eternal. Right? That's the idea, right? Okay, but they're teaching that those two words are the same. A nitzachon is a victory, right? Mi nitzeach. You would ask that about a soccer game, right? Mi nitzeach, right? It's simple as that, right? Okay, who won? Okay, so you might not ask that about a soccer game because you don't care, but you know what I mean, right? Okay, also, but netzach also means eternal. Nitzchi, nitzachon, right? Okay, so let's see what netzach and hoid are. It's very interesting what the Rebbe says about netzach and hoid. So we're 4 lines up. V'chein hu gam, into the 4th line up from the bottom of page 55. V'chein hu gam ba'anf. The second midah is always the dominant midah. Netzach shebechesed, that means we're talking about chesed, and the expression of chesed in netzach, right? Or the expression of netzach as a result of chesed, okay? The second midah is always the dominant midah. So, Hashem mitzad ha'avas levai hine gam k'sheyeshna meinim u'ma'akvim, when he has obstacles, hine hu loichem menagdim, he battles these obstacles, this opposition. V'zeu inyan, and that's the inyan of netzach shebechesed. He emerges victorious. He emerges victorious over the opposition. That's netzach shebechesed. And why? His love for Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now we're going to see that those are internal obstacles because Hoid is going to be external obstacles. That's the next line. Even when there are external obstacles. And he has no power, meaning he feels powerless against these very powerful forces against him. Ki rabim kamim alai. The many are standing against me. David HaMelech, right? Who else? Right? Relating to the tremendous opposition that he has to deal with. So Hoid Shebechesed is overcoming that opposition as a result of your love for Kadosh Baruch Hu. The koyach comes from the love, but the pa'ula is overcoming the opposition. Now, as we said yesterday, it's both an action, but also it's a state in your nefesh. Mikol Mokem, Hine Mitzad, Ahavose Lavaya, as a result of his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, top of page 56, Hine Gam, also, Kishiyeshna Meinim Ma'akvim, even when there is opposition, Mibachutz, it doesn't say, but that's who we're talking about. Hinehu, interesting enough, uses this word now. He didn't use it in Netzach, he uses it in Hoid, Hu Minatseach Es Atzmei, he. Now, in this case, in this context, the word persevere is a very good translation. Minatseach Es Atzmei, he emerges victorious over himself. Well, okay, but we're talking about, if we're talking about internal opposition, so then I understand that. But if we're talking about external opposition, why am I emerging victorious over myself? Well, obviously, I'm the one who has to have the energy to fight them. Okay, but in this case, perseverance is a very, very good translation of it. He perseveres, lahaser samilius, to remove these obstacles. And that's Hoid Shebechesed. Now, it's really interesting, because when we get to Hoid itself, we're going to see Hoid itself is something completely different. The Midah of Hoid itself. We're going to get to that. Why do we get to that? Well, this Maimer was said on Lag B'Omer, and Lag B'Omer is Hoid Shebehoid, the ultimate. We'll see what that means and what's the significance of Hoid Shebehoid, very serious significance of Hoid Shebehoid. Okay, but that Hoid will be very different than this.
The obstacles, external or internal?
External. Netzach is internal, Hoid is external.
Okay.
Right? But they're both an inyan in, it's interesting because they're both ultimately an inyan in Netzach. Dezeri in Hoid Shebechesed. Now, what's Yesoid? Yesoid generally is connection. Yesoid means I have a connection to something, and therefore that gives birth to thought, speech, and action regarding that which is Malchus. That's Yesoid. Okay? The Yesoid Shebechesed Hu, the Gam Kasher Mitzad Eizatam, that even if there might be, as a result of a certain reason, Ein Loi Mashicha, he doesn't feel drawn, Torah and mitzvahs, when he doesn't feel a connection to them. Mikol Mokem, Hini Mitzad Ahavase Lavaya, as a result of his Ava to Hashem, who Miskasher Lazeh, he connects to this B'kol Tenuos Nafshe, with all movements of his soul, Ad Shemis'erer Pechuka, until he's aroused in a longing, Torah and mitzvahs. Yesod, a feeling of connection, a feeling of identification, that I identify with something, I'm connected to it, it's part of me. And that's Yesod Sheba'ava. Now, he's talking, Yesod itself is that connection. Yesod Sheba'ava is bringing about that connection as a result of the love. That means there might not be such a connection, but I bring it about. I don't feel the connection, okay, so I work on bringing it about. That's Yesod Sheba'netzah. Yesod Sheba'chesed. Ad, what's the next level, which is Malchus, until all his thought, speech, and action, we've seen that Rashi Davis before, Hu rak b'Torah mitzvahs. He's only in Torah mitzvahs, shezewin in Malchus Shebechesed. What's Malchus Shebechesed? All he thinks about is his beloved. All he talks about is his beloved. All he does is for his beloved. That's Ava. So the Ava expresses itself in his conscious behavior. And that's obviously, now on one level, that's the lowest level because it's being expressed in conscious reality. On the other hand, it's the most powerful thing because it's actually being expressed. The love is not dormant. But that's all a result of the love. Shehuinyan Malchus Shebechesed. That my thought, speech, and action is about my beloved. Ukemehu, the Rambam discusses Avos Hashem as someone who's lovesick. Someone who's madly in love with a woman. So what does he think about all day? Her. That's what the Rambam describes in Hilchos Tshuva. He discusses the love of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Avas choili, he calls it. The sickness of love. I mean, he's lovesick, is what you would say in English. Ukameshu b'midas chesed, and just as it is in midas chesed, which is the only midah we went through, shehi klula mikol midas, which incorporates all of the midas. Kamechin, similarly, ubechol midah, every single midah, she klula mikol midas, that it includes all of the midas. Now, it's hard to extrapolate from chesed to anything else. Okay, Netzach and Hod are relatively easy, because if you're going to say Netzach and Hod are overcoming obstacles, okay, so then that'll be overcoming obstacles in whatever expression you're. So Gevura would be discipline, fear, but also discipline. Okay, so I'd have to overcome obstacles relative to discipline. Okay, that I can relate to. Right. Now the Rebbe is going to discuss all this, and that's all mitzad the Nefesh Elokis. The love of the Eibush of the Nefesh Elokis experiences, but that love might involve a certain amount of avodah to the extent that there's certain things I have to overcome. Now, what about the Nefesh of Hamis? So now the Rebbe is going to talk about the Nefesh of Hamis, not mitzad the kedusha of it, meaning where it can get, but what it's naturally involved in. Right? He's going to talk about the Nefesh of Hamis mitzad its teva, not mitzad what we're trying to do with it through the course of Sfiras Omer. Vine, zelu mazeas elokim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made this opposite this, meaning he made a realm of kedusha and he made a realm of klipa. The kameshu b'nefesh elokis, just as it is in the Nefesh Elokis, shekol mido mida hiklula mizayin, that each midah contains within it all 7 midas. Kamechin b'nefesh hamis. So to the Nefesh Hamis. This is a little funnier than the Nefesh Elokis, right? Shekol mido mida hiklula mizayin. Ukamei b'midas chesed. We'll do midas chesed al derech mashal, for example. Shehi klula mikol midas. Now, what would be the chesed of the Nefesh Hamis? Mitzad its nature. What would be its love?
For itself.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, strong. Ooh. Who made that cup of coffee? Ooh. Cut it with a knife and fork. My machine wasn't working, so I had to do it through the filter, so I guess I put in a little much. It's like, ooh. Okay, guys, let's go. That was a really strong sip of coffee. Okay, so the Nefesh Hamis is going to love itself and love Gashmis. Now, that's obviously an extension of self, right? I love Gashmis because Gashmis makes me feel good. Okay, so what's Chesed Shebechesed? Let's see.
I have a question.
What?
I have a question.
No.
What about the nurturing? Let's say like a lioness loves her cubs. Isn't that also?
Yes, there's definitely that natural expression of Chesed, 100%. Right? It's not on a certain level, it's a selfless love. But it's not an avodah, because after all, it's just the chip that a mother has. Mm-hmm. That's what we saw earlier about the ein tinok yedei likursis abba chitam tam dagan. That's abba, not ima. The child has an essential connection to ima, not necessarily to abba. But that takes some nurturing, right? So yes, the mother has a chip that shows a certain love for the child. Now, interestingly enough, this is what psychologists say, but it is interesting. Most of us are drawn to young creatures. If you see a lion cub, you think it's just the cutest little thing in the world. It's going to grow up to something that would like to eat you for lunch. Okay, we say that, but a baby rhinoceros is cute. How can that be? Well, the rhinoceros has to be just about the ugliest. A baby hippo, they're just adorable. Right? So evidently the roundness of them has a lot to do with it. Now baby giraffes aren't round, but they tend to be round. Babies tend to be round. Kittens, most people have a certain affinity for kittens. They see a kitten and they think it's cute. Even in Yerushalayim, where you don't like cats because they're coming out of the garbage and they're not necessarily something that people are, attracted to. But if you see a kitten, most people are attracted to the kitten. And evidently they say it's the roundness of it. Babies tend to be roundish. So they say. Hippos, I mean, even baby hippos are around, but I mean, baby hippos are cute. Baby elephants are absolutely adorable. I mean, they're huge, but they just, there's no question, they're just adorable. They grab their mother's tail with their trunk and they follow along. And I mean, you have to be a strange person not to be attracted to the baby elephant. So that's a chip that we all have. Yes, and obviously there's an aspect of love in that chip, but it's not in any way, shape, or form a selfless love. The mother, the baby, the mother lion will defend the baby with her life, but that's not an avodah. That's just a chip. That's just an instinct, right? So yes, you would call it love, but it's very different than the love that humans experience, right? But humans also have an incredibly powerful connection to their child. Though I wonder, it'd be interesting to know, I'm not sure, I wonder if there are mother lions who are unhealthy mother lions and therefore don't take care of their cubs. Because there are definitely unhealthy human mothers who don't take care of their children, right? I mean, we find them in dumpsters, God forbid. That happens. I wonder if that happens in the animal world. There are animals that by definition eat their young.
Lions as well, but this.
Lions eat their young? They eat healthy ones or unhealthy ones? Cats eat stillborns.
I believe it's the lead of the pride, the male, and it's like the weakest, smallest one.
Right, okay, right. The mothers have to protect the babies from the males, that's for sure.
Well, but when a lion brings a bouquet of roses back into the den there for the mother, isn't that love?
No.
It's just the chip in there, huh?
It's just a chip.
When it gets something.
It's very hard for him to put the bouquet together with no hands.
Yeah.
It's tremendous Mysticism, and he rips his mouth apart on the roses, but he does it because he's just such selfless love. That'd be an interesting question. I wonder if there's such a thing as a messed up mother in nature, like she's just, she's a psychotic mother in nature. I wonder if there's such a thing, right? Or there's just a chip, and this is what the chip does, and if the chip is that there are mothers. There's a type of bird, I think, that is very achzari to its young. I don't know which bird. We've had pigeons against our will, but I mean, once they did it, who made nests in different parts of our house, meaning, on a windowsill or on the back porch and things like that, and we didn't catch it until there were already eggs in there. So then yes, you can take the eggs. I mean, there is shiluch hakad. You can do the mitzvah and take the eggs. You have to know how to do that. And last year I actually did it because I wanted to do it. I'd never done the mitzvah before, so I did it. It was in a place where I'd be hired to do the mitzvah. But it's not, it's like you have to crush the eggs. That's not so nice. But you also have to send away the mother. You have to know which one is the mother and which one is the father, because by pigeons, the father sits on the eggs half the time. So evidently, I don't remember, I looked it up and I asked a Rav. I think the mothers are the day and the fathers the night, or the other way around. It's depending on the time of the day, who's there. But you can tell the mother's definitely more slender than the father. So you can figure out which one is the mother. But the mitzvah is only with the mother. Sending away the father is absolutely nothing. It's just achzari, why you're sending away the father and killing the eggs. But if you send away the mother, you're doing a mitzvah. So now they obviously, and they mate for life, pigeons. The same pigeons come back every year. I mean, it's hard to tell which, but I mean, it's pretty clear they're the same pigeons. They do the same things every year. For years, they tried to make nests on our back porch. And they would stand on the railing of the porch and look around. And then they would start bringing sticks to this place on top of a shelf that we have. And I would take the sticks and I'd throw them away. And they'd come back and they'd look, it was so interesting, they'd look very forlorn. Like, what? They'd bring more, and I'd take them and I'd throw them off the balcony. Twigs. And they'd come back and they would talk to each other. I mean, they would stand there and go, the pigeons do. And they would look at each other, and then they'd fly away and bring more stuff until they gave up. But then at one point, 2 years, they made in our windowsill, off our bedroom window. So 1 year we didn't catch it on time, and there were already chicks.
Wow.
There's a curtain there, so and so we just watched it happen. It was fascinating. They would bring the food and feed the chicks, but the mess at the end was just well, the chicks are there for quite a while, and they're not toilet trained, right? The mess was unbelievable.
Wow.
So we decided we don't want that anymore. It was interesting watching. I'm glad we saw it once. It's fascinating. And they mamish sit on them. I mean, when they come, they sit right on them, and they like curl up, and the parent just sits down on them and keeps them warm. And then they fly away and they look around. They're the ugliest things in the world at the beginning, which is interesting. They are not in any way, shape, or form something you would be drawn to. They're just ugly and scrawny. But sooner or later, they start growing feathers, and they do get cute. And then they fly away. At a certain point, you can see they start flapping their wings in the nest. And at some point, you look, and they're just not there. They're gone. And they just left this mess. So last year, we didn't let it happen. Last year, we caught it in time and did the mitzvah. And this year, I've been looking because I don't want to do it. I didn't. So far, so good. No twigs. But you'd think they're going to come back. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe they've tried. But that's, the instinct of the mother taking care of the child. It's coming from the chesed of the nefesh Bahamis of that creature, but it's not. It's just a chip, right? So here the Rebbe. So yes, it is interesting that the mother will defend the child almost to, or if not to, the death. That is interesting. Okay, but let's see it in humans, because we're the most sophisticated of creatures and also the weirdest of creatures. Third line. And now the Rebbe is going to talk not so much about love for self, even though obviously it's an extension of love for self. My love for physical things. Just like the love of the Nefesh Elokis was for Inyanim Ruchnim, for Elokus. So too, the love of the Nefesh Bahamis is Gashmias. Nefesh Bahamis will get very excited discussing the taste of a certain dish in a restaurant. Just get very excited about this. Talk about it. Oh, I have to take you to this restaurant and you just have to eat the What's going to happen if I don't? No, you'll miss out on something in life. No, I don't think so. But the Nefesh Bahamis is convinced that if I don't do that, I'm going to miss out. Sha'avasa l'inyanim gashim zog zich ois is expressed. Zog means to say, ois means out, but in this context it would be expressed. But shuka gluya legashmis, an open longing for gashmis. Chesed shebechesed, I love gashmis. Meaning, I have an innate love for gashmis. That's a function of the nature of the Nefesh Bahamis. Chesed shebechesed, that will be expressed in particular connection to certain things, love for certain things. Ugvura shebechesed, who shemitzad avase ledvarim gashmin, in terms of his love for certain physical things, who sein ezeh shemenaged leilezeh, just like chesed, gevura shebechesed in Elokus was the person has a very negative connection to those who were fighting Elokus. So who will this person have a very negative connection to? The person who's trying to keep him away from this gashmis that he loves. Now, that means anybody who is in competition to relative to getting this gashmias, but also anybody who might say to him, what are you doing? Why are you so into this? It's very powerful hitnagdut, and that's what the Rebbe says. When a person were to say to him, Vipastis for their ligin, what is it about you that ligin, that you're so involved? Binyanim bahamim, in animalistic things, she'enim lefi ma'ila sa'adam, that aren't commensurate to the lofty level of what a human could be. So anybody who says that to him, who's saying that, he hates them. Right? You're trying to keep me away from what I like. What do I like? I like my gashmis. Don't take me away from my gashmis. I don't want anybody to take me away from my gashmis. Right? So that can obviously be expressed in many, many different ways, and we don't have to talk about it. It's pretty obvious. Right? V'talmud Torah, Tiferet shebechesed. What's that? So Tiferet, we said, is the beauty of something, but lihit pa'er also means to boast, to be very impressed with myself. Right? That's also hit pa'arut. Right? So in that case, in this context, I was talking about it that way. But Tiferet shebechesed hu the levadzes, in addition to the fact mashu nimshach l'min gashmim, that he's drawn to gashmistic things. Shezeu guf inyan chesed. That's the basic inyan of chesed. The oidzes. Furthermore, as barimt, and barimt in Yiddish means to boast. Barimt sich, und koch sich, and he's focused. Shu nimshach l'inyanim gashmim. He's not embarrassed about this. Adarabba. He boasts about it. He'll talk about all the different things that he's done in Gashmias that anybody who's at all sophisticated would, what, I can drink 15 beer at a time. Wow. Oh. So anybody who has any sophistication will not be so impressed. Right? I'm sorry about talking about it, but most men who are sort of hung up in their Nefesh Bahamis will boast about how many women they've conquered. Right? Well, someone who has any class would find that gross. But they'll boast about it. They're not even embarrassed. You know, if you have a taifa, we all have taifas, right? But a person who has any sophistication whatsoever is somewhat embarrassed of his taifas, and he's not going to start broadcasting his taifas on, so now what is it, social media, right? I'm going to talk about how cracked I am on social media. No, I'll keep it to myself, because it's embarrassing. Okay, but say that, right? So in other words, there is a basic understanding of what's proper, but a person will also have a taiva, because they have a nefesh bahamis, and they'll be connected to something, and they might even enjoy it, but they're not going to broadcast to the world, because they don't find it to be a particularly lofty thing. Okay. As opposed to people who are so connected to this thing that they'll actually put it up on their, whatever the newest thing is, Facebook, or what's the new, that no one uses Facebook anymore. Whatever. Well, there's all these things that people have. Right? And he boasts about it. He's into it, and he's impressed by himself that he's such a lowlife. That's Tiferet shebechesed of the Nefesh Bahamis. That the Nefesh Bahamis is impressed by how grub it is. The Netzach shebechesed, so Netzach we said was overcoming obstacles. Netzach shebechesed hu the gam kashem mitzad ezos. This is almost funny. That even if, as a result of certain reasons, whatever they may be, chaser etzlayam shocha, he's lacking this drawing, this attraction, linyonim gashmim, he just doesn't feel like it. Unveiled zichne, he doesn't want it. Hine hu minatseach es atzma, he overcomes himself, he perseveres. Ufmachana chuka, and he arouses in himself a desire for it. So I just always think of the college undergrad is in his dorm Saturday night, and he doesn't really want to go out and be an animal. So he's sitting and reading a book, but he overcomes himself. Chas v'shalom, he should sit and read a book. He's got to go out and get drunk and throw up, and be just pushing an animal. So netzach shebechesed. Chas v'shalom, I should sit here and not. It's Saturday night. This is my chance to just go out and be an absolute animal. So he goes. He overcomes. Chas v'shalom. He's going to sit in his dorm room and read a book. What a low life. He's going to go out and drink and party and be rowdy and make noise and who knows what. It's machana chuka. Right? That's netzach of the Nefesh Bahamis. V'oid yoser. Shegam kasher yeshna yisnagtas mibachutz. What if there's other people who are trying to oppose his rather low behavior? Shemavayshi may say, and they might embarrass him. Now he's talking about a yid, right? He's talking about the Nefesh Bahamis of yid. Look at our Yid, Ben Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, someone who's the son of Avram, Yitzchak, and lived in Inyanim Bahamim, is so involved in animalistic things. How can it be? Where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, so now this might actually strike a chord. So it is definitely going to strike a chord inside his Nefesh Bahamim, Nefesh Elokis. So what does his Nefesh Hamis have to do? Overcome this, right? Overcome this external obstacle to his desire to be completely and totally verzunken geworden in Gashmis, completely sunk into Gashmis. Not only are you involved in animalistic things, you're actually doing things that are usher. He fights. This won't be mabalbil his taiva. Won't confuse him. He knows what he wants. Mitzvahs nefesh b'hamis. Shazerin in harji b'chesed, overcoming external opposition. V'kol kach godla tavasai, and his taiva is so great. Achu ba lidei hiskashus b'taiva. He starts to define himself in terms of this taiva. He's connected to it. Which is really, we had a student in the Yeshiva whose father left his mother for a man. Okay. So he had a good relationship with his father. He likes it. He loves his father. It's his father. Obviously, he wasn't so happy about this whole thing. So he told me about a conversation he had with his father that was really fascinating. He said, at one point, he said to his father, I understand that you have a taiva. He said, everybody has taivas. I just don't understand why you define yourself in terms of that taiva. Mm-hmm. Which is really an amazing line. Gay pride parades. Okay, say someone has a taiva. There's obviously such a taiva in the world, right? Because God says it's usur. He's not going to say it's usur if there's no taiva, right? Okay, so obviously there's such a taiva. Right? It affects a certain amount of people. Now it affects many, many more people because it's become the thing to do and there's something wrong with you if you don't have that type. Okay, but that's all right. That's like, a strange thing that, an aberration which will disappear relatively soon, probably. Okay, but there's a certain percentage of the population that will have that type. So evidently it's natural. Doesn't mean it's mutter, okay? But why would I define myself in terms of that type? Right? Meaning, you want to have it that fine. You want to do the Avera, fine. But I don't understand, why do you have to broadcast it on the street? That's bizarre. That's your search. I'm so involved in the type, I define myself in terms of this type. I find it hard to imagine that there would ever be parades of adulterers' pride parades. Right? The majority of men in the Western world are adulterers. Most of them cheat on their spouses. Now, it's getting to the point that most women also do, because women are being told that they should be like that also. Why should they miss out? Okay. So that's a very, very common thing. And there's certain cultures where it's everyone. Right? I was talking to a friend of mine in Brazil. So he's a shaliach there. Said there's almost no such thing as husbands who don't cheat on their wives. Almost no such thing. He named a couple of people who I knew in his community. He said they don't. They're the yechidim. They're the exception. That's the way the culture works. Okay, it's sick. Fine. Okay, but they don't have parades. Meaning everybody knows everybody has this taiva. Okay, fine. So now what am I going to do? But I'm going to parade this taiva? No. Because hopefully I don't get to the point where, meaning there is a level in that person, obviously, where there's yisoid shebechesed, to the extent that they're so involved in the taiva that they don't really see it as a contradiction to being a normal human being. Okay, so they might define themselves on a certain level within that taiva, but relative to themselves, but not publicly. No. Parades. That's just bizarre. I mean, I understand it sociologically and I understand in terms of the movement of it, but it's just bizarre. It's very bizarre. It's so low. So that's Yesod Shebechesed, the Nefesh Bahamis. Meaning it's come down to a very low level. right? That they identify in terms of the taiva. V'kol kach gadla tavas ad shu ba lidei iskashrus b'taiva. You can't imagine life without the taiva. Shezeu yesod shebechesed. Ad shegam ha'machshava dibur ma'aser shalai hu binyanim chumrim is in physical things. So that's all the person will think about. Right? And thus he can go from low place to low place, ad, to such an extent, he can come to actually be involved in forbidden things, meaning you actually do the avera. Because after all, the action itself is only happening in Malchus Shebechesed. What's causing the action to be are all these different states in Midas that bring this closer and closer to the possibility of action. And that which is responsible for the thought, speech, and action is the fact that I connect to it and identify with it. Once I identify with it, so then that's what I'm going to think about, that's what I'm going to speak about, and that's what I'm going to do. Right? Okay. So there are things that are innocuous, that are just stupid. Right? No, they're just stupid and they're innocuous, but they're not dangerous. And then there are things that are dangerous and they're really serious. So I'd imagine adulterous husbands commiserate with each other about their adultery, right? And talk about it, and my brother, I remember years ago, told me about some situation where the army. And Miluim, what often is the case, the lowest of the low, when they show up in a base in Miluim, what's the first question they ask? I don't have to explain. They'll ask me, who's around? I was thinking, where was he? He's talking about Miluim. Hopefully they were single. But they probably weren't. Okay. V'zeu, now the Rebbe's going to go back. Okay, so we saw the incorporation of midas and midas. Fine. Now all of this is to explain what we want to understand, the question that we asked, and now we're going to start answering the question. The question that we asked was, why is it that the Torah, when describing when it is that you and I are supposed to count Immerse, says Mimachras HaShabbos? Why not Mimachras Pesach, Mimachras Yom Tov? Because it's confusing to say Mimachras HaShabbos, right? That was our question. Yeah? Okay. In order to understand that question, you have to understand something about Sfiras HaEmer. The first thing we have to understand about Sfiras HaEmer is it's shaykh to the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's elevated in the Nefesh HaBahamis. Then we have to understand how that work has to be done in great detail. Then the Rebbe went through in great detail the Mid of Chesed in the Nefesh HaLokis and the Nefesh HaBahamis. So now we're ready to understand how it is that we can rectify the Nefesh HaBahamis, elevate the Nefesh HaBahamis, bring it to a place where it appreciates Elokus, the Aveda from below above, which is the Aveda of Sfiras HaEmer. So how do we do that? So let's see. V'hine, Usfartem lechem. We're back to the idea of Sfiras HaEmer. The Aveda of Sfiras HaEmer in Biru of Midas Papratius, which we just said, we've been saying through the whole night. The Aveda of Sfiras HaEmer is the rectification of the Midas in detail. Kol Mida Umida Kameshi Klula Mizayim. Each Mida as it incorporates 7. Hainu, Habir b'chol pratu prat, the rectification of each and every detail. Shebetchilo, so now we're just a general overview of everything before we understand it. At first, what is there? First thing that happens is Yetzias Mitzrayim. What's that? Unbelievable revelation from above, unbelievable inspiration from outside, which doesn't bring about a change, but will bring about a great desire to change. Shazel mashcheni, draw me, shlep me, hainu, hagilui, the revelation b'derech yisarusa de la'elo, the revelation from above, milamayla lamata, from above below. Ukemayim umera gadol, in the Haggadah, Mar gadol is a gilui shchina. There was a tremendous gilui of Elokus in Mitzrayim. This revelation was, it was not a result of our Aveda, it wasn't a response to our Aveda, it was simply a gift from above. Aval, mitzad haguf v'nefesh habahamis, and what did we learn earlier in the Mimer? In terms of the guf and the nefesh habahamis, the body and the animals, the negative reality was as strong as ever. Nothing happened. No, there was no real change as a result of this external show called Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now that doesn't mean that there wasn't aroused in me a desire to change. There was. Okay, that being said, there was no change yet. Therefore, we had to run away. Why? Because we're still shaykh to Mitzrayim. The drunk has to run away from the bar. Because their connection to evil was still very, very powerful. Their connection to Mitzrayim was still very, very powerful. What's the next step? After that arousal from above, there's the step of the Aveda from below, which is Sfir Seimer. And this is constant in our lives, but specific to this time of year. Shua Aveda b'nefesh bahamis, which is now the Aveda with the nefesh bahamis, which means the Aveda with conscious me, trying to bring about a change in my conscious and hopefully subconscious reality. Tezeu usfartem lechem, you should count mem tes yom, 49 days. And what's usfartem? The usfartem, which means to count, that's the simple pshat, is also miloshin sapirus ubihirus. It's also from the language of brilliance and light. Sapphire. Right? That what? Illuminate. The zeu usfartem mem tes yom. What is the idea of count 49 days? It means to illuminate those 49 days. Illuminate the nefesh bahamis with the light of the nefesh elokis. And we'll see that change isn't simply discipline. Discipline is necessary for change. I can't possibly change if there's no real discipline. But it's not only discipline. The ikar change is trying to get the light of the nefesh elokis to shine through the nefesh bahamis, so the nefesh bahamis is existentially affected by that, as opposed to simply being very well disciplined. Right? If you discipline the dog to make on the lawn and not on the carpet, so that's good. That's much better, right? You can't live with the dog making on the carpet. I get that. Okay, so you discipline the dog, and it works. And you teach him how to go. Sooner or later he's going to start scratching at the door, and he'll go outside, and he'll make outside. Good, okay. But nothing's happened to the essential nature of the dog. He's still a dog. He's just a disciplined dog. But he hasn't changed. Oh, so I don't want to simply be a disciplined behemoth, right? I want my nefesh bahamis to undergo a certain change and elevation. So that's illuminating the nefesh bahamis with the light of the nefesh elokis, because I have a nefesh elokis. We saw this in Basi Lagani also. These lavshus of the nefesh elokis and the nefesh bahamis. Okay, so that's also the lashon usfartem, that you should illuminate yourself. And what are you illuminating? The zeu usfartem mem tes yom hainu levarer, to rectify, lezachech, and to purify kol mida umida, each emotional attribute, kemeshi klula mezayin, as it incorporates all 7 midas. The kol mem tes yomim, that all 49 days, which relate to the 49 midas, means 7 times 7, yumevurarim, rectified, mizuchachim, purified, v'sapurim, and brilliant. Lashon sapphire. V'koyach al zeh. Now the Rebbe says, so how do I have the ability to do this? I understand how I would have the ability to discipline my nefesh bahamis so it'll be a well-behaved puppy. That I get. Discipline. And discipline, you can't do anything without discipline. It's called iskafia, right? Okay, but I also want there to be a certain aspect of ishafcha. I want there to be a certain aspect of transformation. It's not going to be complete and total. I'm not going to become a tzaddik, okay, beseder, but there can be definite changes in me. Both the way I think, speak, and act, which is the easiest thing to do, as hard as it is, the easiest, and ultimately have some effect on my subconscious reality. I understand. I'm not going to have a total effect on my subconscious reality. I'm not going to become a tzaddik. I get that. Okay. But some effect on my subconscious reality to the extent that I know there's certain things that after a while I will stop desiring. If I stop thinking about it, talking about it, and having anything to do with it, at a certain point it will no longer be part of my subconscious reality. Certain things are always part of my subconscious reality. The desire for food will always be part of our subconscious reality. Why? Well, it's necessary to survive. You're not going to overcome your desire for food. You can control your desire for food. You're not going to overcome your desire for food. There's other desires that are part of the maintenance of the species. So you're not going to overcome that desire. You have to control it, but you're not going to overcome it. Okay. But there are other desires you can completely uproot from yourself. Right? Now, it's going to take time, and you might decide that this desire is not worth working on this one. I want to work on that one. Okay, that's reasonable. Right? But there are certain natural things that a person is not really going to overcome. It's all about iskafi. It's all about controlling it properly. Right? The Alter Rebbe didn't taste food. You're not going to get to that point. You're not going to get to the point where you have no taiva for food. You're going to have a taiva for food. You're going to want to eat. Why? Well, you have to want to eat. Right? Because if you don't want to eat, you're going to die, God forbid, right? So eating is a completely reasonable thing to do. Okay. But it is true that not only within the context of kashrus, I also do have to have some control over what I eat and how I eat. Remember once Rabbi Gafni said an amazing thing, what's iskafia in our generation? In the old days, what was iskafia? So Richard Masmid ate buckwheat groats. That's all he ate all week long. And on Shabbos, he would have a piece of chicken. Okay, so go look in the market and see what we've got. That's not shaykh today. Okay. There's no question it's impressive that Ravitcha did that, okay, but what else was out there? How much else was out there? There was, but not as much as you have. Okay, because you can walk up to Machne Yehuda and it's just, the bracha is pashut, unbelievable, the hashpah, the shefa. Okay. So then what's iskafia relative to food today? Eating healthy food. You should eat healthy food. That's iskafia. Don't eat junk. Eat healthy food. Eat fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, meat and vegetables. Okay, fine. You should eat food that's healthy. So that's iskafia. But it's not a matter of not eating. Okay. You want to say that I'm not going to, I'm going to limit snacks, right? Okay, you want to have a snack? Okay, fine. So have a snack. Have an apple. Have a banana. Don't have bisli. Right? Okay. It's going to fill you up just as much. Right? Now, obviously, you have to be in control of that. Around here, I might say I'm very impressed, because they always have those apples and oranges out, kol hakavod. Right? In most yeshivas, the only thing you're going to be able to find is bisli, right? You go to the store and buy yourself bisli. Because the store you're going to go to that's closest probably doesn't sell apples. The Makola doesn't sell apples. It sells bisli, so you're going to buy bisli. Okay, this is terrible for you. So don't eat bisli. Don't drink Coca-Cola. It's bad stuff. You want to drink, drink some water, drink some orange juice, but don't drink Coca-Cola. It's terrible stuff. So that's iskafia. Right? The ability to do this. Now the Rebbe says something amazing. That's what we have to understand. It says, Usfartem lachem mimachros haShabbos. Mimachros haShabbos is a date. And I know the date is the 16th of Nisan, and it means mimachros haPesach. But it had to say mimachros haShabbos because the koyach to do the avodah comes from a place called mimachros haShabbos. That's what mimachros haShabbos means. So there's a double entendre in Machros HaShabbos. There's Machros HaShabbos, which is the day after Pesach. Why are you calling Pesach Shabbos? Okay, you can call Yom Tov Shabbos, Pesach, but you're confusing people. And as a matter of fact, we know in Sheni there were people confused and they thought it meant Shabbos Chol Hamoed. It's okay, we asked that question. I get it. Okay. But it really means Machros HaPesach. I know that. But why did I say Machros HaShabbos? Because there's a double entendre and it's the other meaning that's important and I have to say it. And what's Machros HaShabbos? So let's just start it now and we'll see we'll see the whole idea tomorrow. Dihine. Kashem shekredim Sfir Sa'imer. Just like before Sfir Sa'imer. Haya inyan di Yetzias Mitzrayim. There was this incredible revelation. Sha'az nigla le'em melech malchei emlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There was a revelation of the King of Kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to all of us in Mitzrayim. And this gilui, sha'gilui haya, she's gala le'em atzmusa u'mahusa ein sof Baruch Hu. It was an unlimited revelation, an unbelievably powerful revelation of Elokus. The Eibishter himself. Shezeh yakodim Sfiras Eimer. That was before Sfiras Eimer. V'hatachlis to Sfiras Eimer. What's the ultimate purpose of Sfiras Eimer? Is to get to Matan Torah. Shezeh achana le'aviyani melech hadarav. It's a preparation of the king will bring me into his chambers. Shu inyan Matan Torah. That's Matan Torah. And what's Matan Torah? Shu gam came. Gilui atzmus Baruch Hu. It's also a revelation of the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Sfiras Eimer is sandwiched by these two unbelievably powerful revelations. The first revelation is completely from above below. The second revelation is also obviously from above below, but it's a response to our avodah, and hopefully we are now kelim on some level for that revelation. Shezeu inyan, and this is the idea of a neichi. The ultimate revelation of Matan Torah is a neichi of Elokechet. What's a neichi? Ana nafshi kosvis yavis. It's the Rosh Tevis, I myself. Now, simple pshat, you'd say, wrote it, gave it. But Chassidus explains that it doesn't just mean wrote it, gave it. It's I myself am written in it and given in it. Meaning, what's Matan Torah? That's what the Rebbe is about to say. Masha atzmusay mahusay. That which the essence of Ein Sof Baruch, of the Eibishter himself, hat sich, was upgegeben, given over in Torah. The Eibishter is giving us himself in Torah. He's putting his essence in that Torah, and you and I, by virtue of connecting to that Torah, connect to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's these two unbelievably powerful revelations before and after Sfiras Eimer. Hainu, she'inyanim akshurim, those ideas that are connected in Sfiras Eimer, Bain elu shekaydim Sfiras Eimer, both those before Sfiras Eimer, Yetzias Mitzrayim, ubein elu she'achar Sfiras Eimer, and that which is after Sfiras Eimer, Matan Torah, him gilu atzmos, the most powerful revelation of God in the history of humankind until Yemei Mashiach. Hini meshum zeh, because of that, and this will start from here tomorrow, hu eimer mimachas Shabbos, in order to somehow bridge the gap between those two unbelievably powerful revelations, and it has to be through our avodah. That avodah has to have the power called mimachas Shabbos. Now, what is that? Okay, so that's what the Rebbe will explain tomorrow. But mimachas Shabbos is not simply a point in time. It's also that, but it's also a point in kedusha. What gives you and I the ability to become kelim, to become someone fit for the revelation of Matan Torah after Yetzias Mitzrayim? The koyach to bring about the change in ourselves that comes from Mimachos Shabbos, whatever that is. Well, to see what Machos Shabbos is, and it's an amazing pshat the Rebbe is about to say, and then we're finishing the amendment. Then the Rebbe explains that till here. Then the Rebbe explains, so how is that shayat to Lag BaEmer? And that's the amendment. L'chaim. Okay.